Welcome back, everyone. It is so good to be with you for our sixth session together. Today, we're diving deep into a framework that is really shaking up the conversation around mental health. It's called the Unity Method, and it starts from a place that might feel a little radical, not with what's broken in you, but with what's already whole. So let's get into it. And this right here, this is the absolute core of it all. This is the foundational belief of the entire method. And it's such a powerful, hopeful place to start, isn't it? The idea that our pain, our struggles, our trauma, they don't mean we're defective. They are simply part of our story, the echoes of what we've lived through.
So why is this such a big deal? I mean, why is this so revolutionary? Well, for decades, so much of therapy has been built around a system of labels. Now, these diagnoses can be useful for clinicians, sure, but for the people who get them, they can sometimes feel like a prison sentence. They can trap us in an identity of being broken.
Now look at this, because this is where it gets really interesting. It's such a tiny, tiny shift in language, but the difference is profound. Saying I have depression describes an experience, right? It's something you're moving through. But saying I am depressed, well, that's a statement about who you are. It becomes your identity. And that's the subtle trap of so many models. They can lead us to internalize a diagnosis as our unchangeable self.
And listen, this has real consequences. Yeah, labels help doctors talk to each other, but for the client, they can cement this feeling of being broken. And that can lead to shame, this feeling of being permanently damaged. And believe it or not, it can even cause people to pull away from the very therapy that's supposed to help. And maybe worst of all, it completely ignores one of the most incredible truths of modern science, neuroplasticity, the fact that our brains can and do change.
Okay, so what's the fix? The Unity Method proposes something so simple, but so radical. It just changes the one fundamental question that therapy asks. And by doing that, it completely reframes the entire conversation. This is the old way, right? This is the question that so many of us are used to. It's a question that's looking for a defect. It's searching for a disorder, for a pathology. It puts the focus squarely on what's broken.
And then there's this. This is the Unity Method's question. And just like that, the focus shifts. It moves from what's wrong with you to what's happened to you. It implies that how you're feeling now is a completely logical result of your story, not some kind of personal failure. And that simple shift, it gives you your dignity back.
In this question, it's all rooted in this central philosophy of wholeness. Here's the key takeaway. Even our most, maladaptive behaviors, the anxiety, the anger, the shutting down, they get reframed. They're not signs that we're broken. They were once brilliant survival strategies that helped us get through something. They just might not be serving us anymore.
Okay, so that's the big idea, the philosophy. It sounds wonderful, but how does it actually work? What do you do? Well, the Unity Method is built around 5 very clear, very actionable pillars that bring this whole philosophy to life.
Let's just walk through them real quick. First, wholeness over wounding. That's the core belief we just talked about. Second is somatic restoration, which is just a way of saying we heal through the body, using tools like breathwork, because trauma lives in our bodies, not just our minds. Third, relational repatterning, using the safe relationship with a therapist to heal old wounds around connection. Fourth is neuroplastic empowerment, where you literally learn how to rewire your own brain for resilience. And finally, number 5, acceptance over forgiveness. This one's huge. It's about reclaiming your power, and it has nothing to do with whether or not you forgive the person who hurt you. All right, now let's get into the science and see how this whole thing actually works in the real world for real people.
You know, the scientific bedrock of all of this is neuroplasticity. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. It's hard biology. Your brain is not fixed. It is constantly changing based on your experiences. So think about it. If trauma can physically rewire your brain toward fear and survival, then it is absolutely true that new healing experiences can rewire it back towards safety, balance, and wholeness.
And this just illustrates the difference so perfectly. Let's take a case study. We'll call her Sarah. The traditional pathology lens looks at her and sees a diagnosis, borderline personality disorder. The keywords are unstable, resistant. But the Unity lens, it sees a whole human being. Her emotional intensity isn't a defect. It's an incredibly intelligent survival strategy she developed to fight off abandonment. The behavior is the same, but the story, it changes completely.
And this is the result of that shift. Sarah gets to rewrite her own story. She goes from being this passive identity defined by a label to an active one defined by her own resilience, by her own strength. This is the kind of profound transformation we're talking about.
So why does all of this matter outside of a one-on-one therapy session? Because the Unity method, at its heart, isn't just a type of therapy. It's really a vision for a massive cultural shift.
This is the ultimate goal, to completely transform what we think the purpose of therapy is. It shouldn't be about endlessly managing a lifelong problem. It should be about returning to the wholeness and the dignity that was yours from the very beginning.
So the big vision here is for a whole new paradigm in mental health, one that just flat out rejects brokenness as an identity. It honors our stories, our trauma, without letting them define us. It restores dignity. And it's a framework that can scale. It could be used in clinics, online, in retreats, with the goal of changing the entire cultural conversation around what it really means to heal.
So I want to leave you with this question to think about. Imagine that. Imagine a future where a diagnosis is just a piece of information, a temporary tool, but never, ever the final word on who you are. What would be possible for us, for everyone, if we all started from that one simple belief, that we are and have always been whole?